Good morning. My name is Sterling Chu. Welcome to Second Growth Homes. Today we're back at our wood Mizer LT40 super hydraulic project. It's a new day. If my videos seem erratic at all this month, it's because, well, my life is just a little bit erratic right now. We had our third child, Olin, my second son, and everything's going great. He's super healthy and everything, but something about the three kids is just whooping my wife's butt, and I guess mine a little bit too, so. Oh man. So, quick recap on this project is we treated this mill like we just were looking at one that we hadn't purchased. We wanted to check and see what kind of condition it was. Let me try this again, I'm so tired. So what we did is we started with looking at this mill like it was one that we were thinking about purchasing, or a mill that we had just purchased and wanted to get it ready for cutting. So if you bought a used mill or a new mill, this is what I would do. Even brand new, it's exactly what I would do. So quick recap is we took the blade off the mill, we checked the bearings on this idler wheel, and they're just absolutely perfect. It has absolutely no play. It spins forever effortlessly. And we came across and we checked these. These are the blade guides. These are pushed down onto the blade with a little bit of pressure, and the bandsaw blade actually runs on them at all times. Really important part of this operation are these two items right here, and they're also the one that wears out the fastest. Both of ours were bad, so it took me a little while to figure it out, but we got brand new blade guides on here. These are brand new. They still need to be greased, but they're all brand new. And if you notice, okay, they're sitting here totally loose. That's how you start the alignment if you really need to start over. The one thing we did find is that our main drive bearing has a 1/4 inch of end play in and out, a 1/4 of an inch, and it has 1/8 of an inch of rock like this. So I think that that bearing is worn out. We did fill it up with oil. It does spin freely and everything, so my guess is that it'll probably work okay, but my dad has always been having some alignment issues with the blade. I guess that's the problem. So we'll talk to my dad. We'll see if he'll order us a new bearing here. So outside of that bearing, everything on the mill looks perfect. Everything's good. Now we're going to start the alignment. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the blade on there, and we're just going to leave these loose, and we're going to tension the blade, and then we're going to start the alignment process. Okay. The thing I've always wanted to do is, I've always been kind of tempted to remove this guard right here. The thing always bothers me. It's always in the way, and I'm just kind of like, you know what? Why is it even there? But not today. So to get the blade in here, you just really carefully move it in, just like I'm doing. You kind of just have to watch. And the main goal that I have is I'm trying not to cut myself, and I'm trying not to let the teeth touch steel like this. I don't want them to like rub on this. So I'm as gentle as I can be. One of the things that I don't love about this mill is that when you're putting the blade on there, inevitably you're gonna have some of these teeth, like here, it's touching the steel, you know? So that tooth that touched that steel, in my mind, is already a tiny bit dull. It just kind of bothers me. But that is what it is for now. Really carefully, really gently, get the blade in there. Try not to do it, or try not to dull it on anything. And then you just slip the blade onto the wheels. So if you look here, is the tire for the mill, which is this belt that goes around. In this case, the tire is hanging too far down for me to get the blade on, so I have to actually pull the tire up a little bit into the groove on the wheel, and then I can get my blade on there. So for now, we're just going to put the blade perfectly centered on the wheel on both sides. Okay. So this is cool. So everything looks great except for these aren't even like touching it really. They're gonna end up being out here. And we're gonna deal with all in a moment. So come around with me and I'll show you the handle here. Tighten the blade. Okay. This is the tensioner. I'm sure different mills have different tensioners. My old mill had, it was like a spring. It didn't have this hydraulic setup. So if you have something a little different, that's totally fine. And even another brand of bandsaw mill. Basically, somewhere on any bandsaw is going to be the blade tensioner, and you just got to find it. Okay. This one's, I guess, hydraulic. Crank it up. Okay. This once. So normally we put a little bit of tension on the blade, we let it spin once, then we check the blade tracking, adjust as necessary, do a final tension, check it again. In this case, I can't run the mill and spin the blade until I get these rollers close to where I need to go. So let's come around, and what we need to do now is begin the adjustment on the blade guides. So we can't get them perfect yet. But we need to get them close. So blade guides, when this is all said and done, okay, are going to be out like that. This is really interesting. It's already pushing down on it a bunch. Okay, so to start the alignment, we're just going to slide them out here. And I can tell that they actually both need to come up a bunch to start. The way to move them up is there's these nuts on the top, okay? And what we want to do right now is we actually need to get these adjusted so that they're slightly too high, because we don't want them to push on the blade just yet. So right now they're way too low. So this nut on top here, turn it a bunch. What do you think about that? Yep. Let's moving it up. Okay. Now, this is going to take us a little while today. We're kind of starting all the way over. You know, most of the time the alignment is more like a check. Like, you know, you're using the mill and every couple months you just kind of check everything and make one adjustment. But this time we're just starting all the way over. I like to start over once a year. And, you know, it really doesn't take that much time. It'll take me 5 hours. I'm busting ass, but in this case we got a little bit more to do. So now we're going to tighten the nut on the bottom of this here, this blade guide. Let me get you zoomed in. So zooming in here, the blade guide needs to contact here first, not here with the blade. So the blade is going this direction, the roller is spinning this direction. If the blade contacts this side first, it'll pull the blade up into the roller always and hold it firmly on there. If it contacts this side first, when it's rubbing on that edge, it'll be trying to spin the blade like this and get wavy cuts, okay? So right there is straight and level on the blade. That's straight. I want to move it this way. Whoops. Yep, there it is. Perfect. Okay. Then I need to move it back. Perfect, right there. 1/8 of an inch off that blade. Okay, let's go over here and show you one more time. So that bolt I actually was able to not move right there. So that one didn't move. These ones, we just crank in just until they touch there, okay? And then we'll fine tune it afterwards. So just spin these things in, okay? Just till they all contact it without moving it too much. Get a little bit of tension on all of them. Then the adjustments are made by, like, you know, say, oh, I need to tip it down. Take a half a turn on this, a half a turn on this, and go check it. And you need to be really methodical like that with sawmill adjustments. Don't just go all crazy and make a huge adjustment. Just say, okay, half a turn, half a turn. Did it change anything? Oh, it fixed it halfway. We'll do another half a turn. Oh, it did it too much. Quarter turn back. You gotta be methodical, okay? Let's tighten that up. Okay. Starting to look like a sawmill here again today. See, we got blade guides back in place. Blade on there. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring the blade up tension again. Right there. All right. So this is pretty cool. It's starting to look like a mill again. See? Right now everything looks perfect to me. I got a good gap behind that. Everything seems really good. They're not loaded up yet. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is we need to check the bandsaw head alignment. And what that means is the blade, okay, flatness to these big bunks here. So what we'll do is we'll actually move the mill forward here very carefully, since I haven't put everything back together yet. Okay. We'll move the mill forward until we're over that first bunk. We want that thing just about as far out as it'll go, okay? Bang. All right. Now what we do is we need to measure. So I'll start explaining a few little tricks as we go, and a few places where maybe I differ from old wood miser, so on their alignment procedures. So let's measure right here. So to the top of the blade, that's exactly 14.5 over there. Let's come over here. Look. Okay. Look at that. It's 14.5. It's perfect. It's a 32nd of an inch higher over here, but you know, it's perfect. Look, no, it's not. It's perfect. That's good news. That's really good news. So that means that the blade is parallel to here. Now what we're gonna do is preload the blade. Preload the blade, and this is a cool part. So we know it's 14.5 to the top of the blade. And what we're gonna do is we'll adjust this roller down, and we'll adjust this roller down, the blade guides, until it drops the appropriate measurement here. And I am going to pull up the manual so I know exactly what we are doing here. Manuals are already super important for sawmilling. So let's go tracking the blade. Nope. Sawmill alignment. Okay. Aligning the blade guides, 515. So here we go. Raise the carriage till the blade is 15 inch above a bed rail. We're at 14.5, that's fine. We don't need to change it. Install the blade guides. Loosen the bottom jam nut and tighten the top nut until the blade guide deflects the blade down 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so we need to go from 14.5 to 14. So we'll measure right here again. It's exactly 14.5 to the top of the blade. We're gonna go down all the way. Loosen the bottom, tighten the top. So I'm just gonna look at this at the bottom. I'm gonna spin that nut down. So it looks like about 1/4 of an inch to my eyes. Right there. And we'll tighten this down to preload the blade, and we can do a final adjustment. I loosened the bottom nut 1/4 of an inch. And I'm tightening this top nut to move the blade down. It's time now to do the blade tilting and final alignment on the second blade guide. This one's done all the way. I'll double check that it's all the way done, but everything's locked in. Everything's tight. Yeah, I don't even need to double check it. It's tight. It just needs to be greased. I want to put this closer to over here, but I think I'll just go over the upright. Okay, so get your blade alignment tool so it's just in between 2 teeth on the blade. Now we're going to back the mill up. And we'll measure exactly 14.5. So that one's probably going to be pretty far out too. Yeah, that's funny. It's exactly the same. 14. So basically, for whatever reason, when the blade was resting on those wheels, it was evenly tipped up a little bit. So we actually had to just bring them both down, which is kind of nice. So if you look closely here, we loosen this bolt, we tighten this bolt, it'll move the end of that shaft up, and that will move the far end of this down. Okay, it'll tip the blade down. So let's go ahead. Last time I overdid it. The math didn't work out for whatever reason, so let's just change it a little bit. Check it once, see how we're doing. Okay. No change. So last time I brought it up to 14.25, which seemed like half the distance between 14 and 14.5. It didn't work out. So we'll just set this at 14.125, just like the other side, and we'll see. I think that's gonna be perfect. Okay, that was a big adjustment. I must have done something. Yeah. That's 14.125. So really carefully, and you gotta be so careful, you don't wanna pinch yourself here, okay? This goes so slow. $14.25. Okay. We got 14.125, 14.25. We got to go a little bit more. Maybe we'll tighten that. I think that's going to be close. Okay. That's almost 14 3/16. Not quite. And because I'm a carpenter, I'm kind of freaky accurate with this stuff, so that's it, man. It's a 30-second high at that end. $14.125 plus a 30-second. $14.125 plus a 30-second, exactly. Okay, that's really good news. Now we need to do one last adjustment. So bring it back. Oh wow. So there I've got 14.125 to the bottom of the blade, here is 14 1/4. Yep, so it needs to come up almost 1/4 inch. So we'll lock these down. That's done. Okay. Make sure everything's tight. Okay. Lock these nuts. Okay. Now we got to bring it up 1/4 inch. Oh no, sorry, 1/8 inch. Not that much. Couple turns there. There we go. You can see it pop up there. That's probably it. Tighten it up. Nice and tight, right? We do not want anything moving on this mill. It's 14 1/4 to the top of the blade. Here is 14 1/4 to the bottom of the blade. It's got to go up more. Okay, nice and tight. All right. It's still 14 1/4 center of the blade. Well, that's it. 14 1/4 centered. Centered. All right. That is how you align. That's how you replace and align your blade guides on your LT40 mobile dimension sawmill. And honestly, it's going to be about the same for any bandsaw or bandsaw mill. There could be various differences in how you make the adjustments, but the principle is the same almost always. It's got, every bandsaw's got a pair of these wheels, and they need to be aligned just like this or just like the instructions for your mill. Well, that was great. If you'd like to click the like and subscribe button and comment below, you can come back with me as we work these mills and we go through every single step and how to replace every single part of both of this mill, the Wood Mizer LT40, super hydraulic. We've also got a ton of milling with this, so we're just about to put this thing to the ultimate test, and we're gonna make 24 2-inch by 16-inch wide planks that are 16 feet long, 24 of them. That's what we're doing right now, coming up next here on Second Growth Homes. So I'm gonna clean up, make sure everything's good, and we'll do the test run together. Thanks for watching. We are getting close now. Got everything put together, except for the covers back on. And what we're gonna do now is start the mill and spin the blade a little bit and tension the blade, spin the blade a little bit, tension the blade a little bit, and then we're gonna align it on this roller if needed. So I'll go ahead and start it, and I'll show you what that looks like here. So there's some bad things that can happen. It could be so out of alignment that the blade could actually just fall off the wheels. That really sucks. Hopefully it's just gonna be okay. Oh, I do need to grease those bearings. Huh. Okay. This has got to be one of the longer hauls for me to get ready to mill ever. So for some reason, these suckers aren't taking any grease. I don't know why that is. It could be that it's really interesting. And I think this is what this is. these bearings actually came with these little plugs. Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting. Okay. So these bearings came with plugs that I didn't know what they were for. And what they do is they plug these Zerk fittings. So these new bearings that I bought are greaseless. And they do that a lot now with new stuff, you know. It's kind of nice that, hey, you don't have to grease it, but they just don't seem to last as long. So whatever. Let's just run it. So that must be what they're for. Why would they send those plugs? I couldn't figure it out. It's because the new bearings are greaseless. Okay. No problem. Ready to cut here. Woo-hoo. Yeah, there's a smile out of me at that. I like sawmill maintenance, but I also like making money, you know. You don't make any money when you're not making lumber. I don't know what this is for. Everything looks great. Good afternoon. Sterling Connolly Chu here. Welcome to Second Growth Homes. Today, we're at my family's wood Mizer LT40 super hydraulic bandsaw mill. We've just essentially realigned and also rebuilt a significant portion of the mill. We got new blade guides installed and everything aligned. And I've got our first log on the mill here. So I'm gonna go ahead and this will be kind of the view today. It's just gonna be the operator's view, what I'm seeing. So if you're trying to figure out how to get your mill set up, you can follow that whole video. And then here I am, I'm all set up. Now I'm gonna try to cut with it. So I'll just explain what I'm doing. There's different ways to mill and different ways to plan out your trees. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna start at the center of the log, which was at 11 inches. So the center of the tree was at 11. I'm making 2-inch by 16-inch, not 2 by 12s, 2 by 16s. And I want to take a 16-inch timber right out of the middle of the tree that I can then stand up and slice into 2 by 16s. So from that 11, we're going to come up half of the width of 16, 8 inches, okay? So from the center of the tree, we came up 8 inches. And our next cut will be down 8 inches. From that space at 19, 11 plus 8, we're going to come up to make 2-bys because we want to make more 2-by slabs if we can. The way we do that on my mill, this is an old-fashioned mill, we're using the 8/4 gauge over here. So 8/4 is 8/4 of an inch, which means a 2-inch board. I've always thought it's kind of funny that they do that, whatever. So from 19, we could just look and we could see we can make at least one 2-inch slab. So let's come up for a 2-inch board. And this will be the mill going up about 2 1/8 inches. So from 19, we're gonna go all the way up 21 1/8. So if you have this mill and you're using this log scale, it's nice because it counts for the thickness of the blade. So you can just set it on 8/4 and just go 8/4 to 8/4 and you get perfect 2-inch boards. You can also just do it with math and just go 2 1/8 every time, but it's really nice to use it when you can. Let's come up one more. Okay, I can tell that's too high. So let's go ahead and come down to 22 1/4. So we'll cut it at 22 1/4, then we'll cut it 21 1/8. That'll give us a 1-inch slab. Then we'll drop down using the 8/4 to cut a 2-inch slab, and that'll put us at 19. At 19, I'm gonna roll the log and trim the top edge of it off. Then I'll roll it again, and we'll trim that side down to 8 inches. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm seeing a little bit of weird rot in the end of this log, which is really odd for me. We're at the butt, so we just gotta hope that doesn't go very far. Yeah, we'll see. Probably a good one to start with. Anyways. Okay. So the bearings I installed are greaseless bearings. The guides, so they don't need to be greased. That's cool. We are out of oil. Or sorry, we're out of diesel. Usually I find that to be a really easy job working on the mill, but for some reason this time, just being so sleep deprived and everything, just seemed like I've been working on this thing forever. It's really not that many hours. I think I've put in, just like I thought, I think it's about 4 or 5 hours. And a lot of that was just messing around with like a couple stuck bolts, you know, like any mechanical project. Should have taken 20 minutes. Okay. Well, let's just see. Let's see if she holds together. Let's say one more thing. So the whole time I've used this mill, for 12 years, I've always cut with 1 1/4 inch bandsaw blades. And I've never changed it. This is my first time using a 1 1/4 inch blade, so I'm hoping it works really good. I tried the 1 1/4 inch blades once, like 8 or 9 years ago, and I couldn't get the mill to cut. The blade just heated up immediately and it didn't work. And then I went back to these and it cut great, and I had a big order to fill, so I just kept cutting and never looked back. But We're gonna try it again. I've always wanted to try it. My dad rebuilt the debarker. Can't get it to turn off. I'm going to start real slow. Like a really good cut. Oh yeah. Awesome. Well, let me figure out what I can do with this debarker. So pretty much all I'm looking for there is I want it to be flat with no wave. work on this tomorrow. I'm able to turn it off by pulling this wire, and it does turn on and work, so just a little tired. Just gonna leave this hanging here. It's not gonna hurt anything. And then tomorrow morning we'll go through that. Never had to work on those relays before, so I'm not quite sure what's going on, and I want to ask my dad because I think he just changed something here and one of these wires is not connected. I think there's supposed to be a wire here. It's missing, so I'll ask him. Oh. Well, everything seems to be cutting great. I'm really pleased. So now we're gonna start it up and we're gonna try to roll this log. This is a little bit too big for the hydraulic system to handle. So the smaller logs it handles really well. These ones, I might have to help it along a little bit. Our blade tension is just staying perfect. Not good. Taking the 16-inch wide timber in this direction. And we want it to be as big as we can so we can get as many boards. So it doesn't actually matter where I start here. We just start up here at the top. That cut one more time. I'm a little rusty. And I got that end